We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and this is Strange Books attributed to the Greater Key of Solomon, including a clear and precise exposition of King Solomon's secret procedure, its mysteries and magic rites, original plates, seals, charms and talismans. Translated from ancient manuscripts in the British Museum, London, by S. Liddell MacGregor Mathers, author of the Kabbalah Unveiled, the Tarot, etc. Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. There is nothing in occult literature which can suffer comparison with the historical manuscripts of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. Prepared for publication under the editorship of L. W. de Lawrence, author of the Great Book of Magical Art, Hindu Magic and East Indian Occultism, and so forth. Published by the de Lawrence Company, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Notice to the reader. In order to make it easy for the student to understand how to make the pentacles shown over the figures in this book, it was necessary to change the position of certain pages. By turning to page 57, it will be noticed that pages 59 and 60 have been put between pages 57 and 58 instead of between 58 and 61. This was done, as explained above, in order to bring those pages which contain certain figures near the printed pages which explain the figures. In going through the book, it may appear at the first glance that certain pages have been left out, but upon investigation it will be found that this is not true, for while there are no numbers shown in the books of pages 59, 60, 65, 66, 69, 70, 73, 74, 77, 78, 99, 100, nothing has been left out of the reading matter, for the reason that these were illustrated pages showing the figures with the pentacles above them, and instead of them being placed according to their number, they were carried forward or set back in order to get them near the reading matter which gave directions for making the pentacles shown on them. The above arrangement holds good throughout the book in general. Instead of there being any pages left out of this book, it will be noticed that there have been many pages added, several extra ones having been inserted by the use of half numbers, and that 61.5 and 62.5 are between 63 and 64, while 63.5 is between 67 and 68, 66.5 and 67.5 are between 71 and 72, 68.5 and 69.5 are between 75 and 76, 86.5 and 87.5 are between 97 and 98. These extra pages were added in order to make everything plain to the student and to avoid confusion. In studying this book, it will be found that the reading matter is complete and that not one word has been left out of it. All the printed pages have been placed exactly where they belong, while the illustrated pages containing the pentacles, seals and talismans have been placed so as to make them most convenient for the student. It should be borne in mind that this famous book is a translation of ancient manuscripts, and that the manner in which the book has been translated and put together is a piece of literary work seldom found in the English language, its author having been very painstaking and careful to convey to the student the true sense of the original manuscript, and this translation shows that it has not been thrown together without order, as is often the case with other translators, but that a complete order runs through the volume from beginning to end. The publishers. The Greater Key of Solomon. Preface to Book 1. In presenting this celebrated magical work to the disciple of occultism, some few prefatory remarks are necessary. The Key of Solomon, save for a curtailed and incomplete copy, published in France in the 17th century, has never yet been printed, but has for centuries remained in manuscript form, inaccessible to all but the few fortunate scholars to whom the inmost recesses of the great libraries were open. The author therefore considered that he was highly honoured in being the individual to whose lot it has fallen to edit and publish the American edition. The fountainhead and storehouse of Kabbalistic magic and the origin of much of the ceremonial magic of medieval times, the key has been ever valued by occult writers as a work of the highest authority, and notably in our own day, Eliphaz Levi has taken it for the model on which his celebrated dogma et ritual de la Haute Meki was based. It must be evident to the initiated reader of Levi that the Key of Solomon was his textbook of study, and at the end of this volume the author gives a fragment of an ancient Hebrew manuscript of the Key of Solomon, translated and published in the Philosophy Occult, as well as an invocation called the Kabbalistic Invocation of Solomon, which bears close analogy to one in the first book, being constructed in the same manner on the scheme of the Sephiroth. The history of the Hebrew original of the Key of Solomon is given in the introductions, but there is every reason to suppose that this has been entirely lost, and Christian, the pupil of Levi, says as much in his history of magic. The author saw no reason to doubt the tradition which assigns the authorship of the key to King Solomon, for among others Josephus, the Jewish historian, especially mentions the magical works attributed to that monarch. This is confirmed by many Eastern traditions, and its magical skill is frequently mentioned by the old adepts. There are, however, two works on black magic, the grimoire verum and the Clavicula Salomonis Redulta, which have been attributed to Solomon, and which have been in some cases especially mixed up with the present work, but which have nothing really to do therewith. They are full of evil magic, and the author cannot caution the practical student too strongly against them. There is also another work called the Megaton, or the Lesser Key of Solomon, the King, which is full of seals of various spirits, and is not the same as the present book, though extremely valuable in its own department. In editing this volume, the author has omitted one or two experiments, partaking largely of black magic, and which had evidently been derived from the two Goetic works mentioned above. He must further caution the practical work against use of blood, the prayer, the pentacle, and the perfumes or temple incense rightly used are sufficient, as the former verges dangerously on the evil path. Let him who, in spite of the warnings of this volume, determine to work evil, be assured that evil will recoil on himself, and that he will be struck by the reflex current. This work is edited from several ancient manuscripts in the British Museum, which all differ from each other at various points, some giving what is omitted by the others, but all unfortunately agreeing in one thing, which is the execrable mangling of the Hebrew words through the ignorance of the transcribers. But it is in the Pentacles that the Hebrew is worse, the letters being so vilely scribbled as to be actually undecipherable in some instances, and it has been part of the author's work for several years to correct and reinstate the proper Hebrew and magical characters in the Pentacles. The student may therefore safely rely on their being now as nearly correct in the present reproduction as it is possible for them to be. The author had, therefore, wherever he could, corrected the Hebrew of the magical names in the conjurations and pentacles, and in the few instances where it was not possible to do so, he had put them in the most usual form, carefully collating throughout one manuscript with another. The chapters are a little differently classed in the various manuscripts, in some instances the matter contained in them being transposed, and his added notes wherever necessary. The manuscript from which this work is edited are additional MSS 10,862, and just those. Manuscript 10,862 is written in contracted Latin and is hard to read, but it contains chapters which are omitted in the others or left out, and also an important introduction. It is more concise in its wording. Its title in short being simply the Key of Solomon, translated from the Hebrew language into the Latin. An exact copy of the signature of the writer of this manuscript is given in figure 9-3. 3981 Harlane manuscripts, 288 King's manuscripts, and 3091 Sloane manuscripts are similar and contain the same matter and nearly the same wording, but the latter manuscript has many errors of transcription. They are all in French. The conjurations and wordings of these are much fuller than in 10,862 and so forth. Goes into more great detail. Solomon the Wise Man by L. W. de Lawrence. Solomon, son of David and Bathsheba, 1033 to 975 BC, king of Israel, noted for his wisdom and deep knowledge of occult forces, author of the Key of Solomon. Solomon was a king, the son of a king, King David, the wise son of a wise father, a righteous man's righteous child. David, the father of Solomon, reigned for 40 years, as it is written. In the days that David governed Israel were 40 years. Of Solomon it is written, and Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel for 40 years. Solomon was born in the year 2912 AM and reigned over Israel 40 years. 433 years elapsed between the date of Solomon's reign and that of the temple's destruction. Seest thou a man that is diligent in his work? Before kings may he place himself. Let him not place himself before obscure men. Proverbs 22:29. In this verse Solomon alludes to himself. He built King Solomon's temple in 7 years, while he occupied 14 years in erecting his palace. Not because his palace was more elegant or more elaborate in its workmanship than was the temple, but because he was diligent in his work to finish the holy temple, while his own house could await time and opportunity. 4 cases of comparative righteousness between fathers and children may be noted. First, a righteous man begets a righteous son, or to him is born a righteous son. Second, a wicked man, to him is born a wicked son. Third, a wicked man, born to him is a righteous son. Fourth, a righteous man brings forth a wicked son. To each of these cases we may find a biblical allusion. To each of them we may apply a parable and proverb. In reference to the righteous father and the righteous son, we find the following verse, Psalms 45:17. Instead of thy fathers shall be thy children. And we may apply the parable of the good fig tree which brought forth luscious fruit. In reference to the wicked father and then the wicked son, we have in Numbers 32:14, and now behold, ye are risen up in your father's stead, a new race of sinful men. Ancient is the proverb, from the wicked proceedeth wickedness, and applicable the parable of the serpent bringing forth an asp, type of snake. In the third case, the wicked father begets or brings forth a righteous son, as it's written, instead of the thorn shall come up the fir tree. And to this can we apply this parable of the rose budding on the bramble bush. Lastly, a righteous man has a wicked son, as it is written, instead of wheat thorns come forth. Job 21:40. And we have also the parable of the attractive peach tree, which brought forth bitter fruit. Solomon was a king, the son of a king, the wise son of a wise father, a righteous man's righteous child. All the incidents in David's life, all his characteristics, were paralleled in the life of Solomon. David reigned for 40 years, as is written, and the days that David governed Israel were 40 years. Of Solomon it is written, and Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel 40 years. David expressed himself by words, as it is written, and these are the last words of David. Solomon likewise expressed himself by words. The words of Koheleth, the son of David, Ecclesiastes 1:1. David said, all is vanity, as is written, for vanity only do all men make a noise. Psalms 39:7. Solomon expressed himself with the same word, vanity. Vanity of vanities. Everything is vanity. It's all in vain. Saith Koheleth. Ecclesiastes 1:2. David wrote books, the 5 books of Psalms, and Solomon wrote 4 books, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, the Song of Solomon, and the Key of Solomon. David composed songs, and David spoke unto the Lord the words of this song. Samuel 22:1. Solomon also composed a song, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. He was the wise king alluded to in Proverbs 16:23. The heart of the wise maketh his mouth intelligent, and upon his lips increaseth information. Meaning that the heart of the wise is full of knowledge and understanding, but this is shown to the world. It should basically be something slightly different here. He was the wise king alluded to in Proverbs 16:23. The heart of the wise maketh his mouth intelligent, and upon his lips increased information. Meaning that the heart should really be the mind in the Hebrew, if it's in Hebrew, it's referring to the mind. Meaning that the heart or the mind of the wise is full of knowledge and understanding, but this is shown to the world through the words of his mouth. And by uttering with his lips the thoughts of his mind, or heart, here we go, he increases the information of the people. If a man possessing brilliant diamonds and precious stones keeps his jewels concealed, no one is aware of their value. But if he allows them to be seen, their worth becomes known, and the pleasure of ownership is enhanced. Applying this comparison to the case of Solomon, while his wisdom was looked upon in his own breast, was locked up in his own breast, it was of value to no one. But when he had given to the world his 4 books, men became acquainted with his great abilities. The words of his lips increased the information of his people, and so great was his reputation that anyone in doubt concerning the meaning of a biblical passage, sought the king for an interpretation. Not only in sacred law did he raise the standard of education, he had mastered and taught the sciences of natural philosophy, physiology, botany, and agriculture, mathematics, and all sciences, etc., etc. He also taught rhetoric and the rules of poesy, or was it something to do with poems, maybe? Poetry, and so forth. With the word vanity, Solomon expresses 7 stages of a man's life. The infant he compares to a king riding in his little coach and being kissed, admired, and praised by all. The child of 3 or 4 years he compares to a pig, fond of the dirt and soiling itself with its food. The child of 10 is fond of dress. The youth adorns himself and seeks a wife. The married man is bold as a dog in seeking a livelihood for himself and family. And the old man he likens to an ape. God gave wisdom to Solomon. When Solomon was about building the temple, he applied to the king of Egypt for men to aid him in the work. Pharaoh, or the king, consulting his astrologers, selected those men who were to die within the year. When they arrived at Jerusalem, the wise Solomon sent them back at once. With each man he sent a shroud and directed them to say to their master, "If Egypt is too poor to supply shrouds for your dead, and for that purpose sends them to me, behold, here they are, the men and the shrouds together. Take them away and bury thy dead." He was wiser than all the other wise men, wiser even than Adam, who gave names to all the animals of the world, and even to himself, saying, "From the dust of the ground I was formed, and therefore shall my name be Adam." Rabbi Tanchum said, "Where is thy wisdom and thy understanding, O King Solomon? Thy words not only contradict themselves, but also the words of David, thy father. He said, not the dead can praise the Lord, Psalms 115:17, and thou didst say, thereupon praised I the dead that are already dead more than the living who are still alive, Ecclesiastes 4:2. And thou didst also say, for a living dog fareth better than a dead lion." These seeming contradictions, however, may be readily explained. David said, not the dead can praise the Lord, meaning that we should study God's laws during life, as after its cessation would be impossible. Solomon said, thereupon praised I the dead that are almost already dead. When the children of Israel sinned in the wilderness, Moses prayed for them for their own sakes, and his prayer was unanswered. But when he said, remember Abraham and Isaac and Israel, thy servants, he met with a prompt reply. Therefore did not Solomon speak well in saying, praise the dead that are already dead? Take another instance. A king may decree laws, but many of his subjects may disregard them. Sometimes these laws, even if earnestly observed during the life of the one who made them, may be repealed or become obsolete after his death. Moses, however, made many stringent laws, which have been observed through all generations. Therefore Solomon said, well, Thereupon will I praise the dead. It was David's custom to pass every Sabbath in the study of the Bible and its precepts, and he was thus engaged upon the Sabbath, which was to be his last. Back of the king's palace there was an orchard, and David, hearing a noise therein, walked thither to ascertain its cause. On entering the orchard he fell to the ground dead. The noise in the orchard had been caused by the barking of the king's dogs, who had not that day received their food. Solomon sent a message to the rabbinical college, saying, "My father lies dead in his orchard. Is it allowable to remove his body on the Sabbath? The dogs of my father are entreating for their food. Is it proper to cut meat for them today?" The answer was returned by the college: "The father's body should not be removed today, but give meat to the dogs." Therefore said Solomon, "A living dog fareth better than a dead lion," justly comparing the son of Jesse to that king of beasts. Solomon was the chosen of the Lord, who called him through the mouth of Nathan, the prophet Yedidiah, the beloved one. He was called Solomon, peace, because in his days peace reigned, as it is written, and Judah and Israel dwelt in safety. Kings 5:5. He was called Ethiel, God with me, because God was his support. And when Solomon sat upon the throne of his father David, all the nations of the earth feared him, all the peoples of the earth listened anxiously for his words. Wisdom. Afterwards he had a throne made especially for himself by Hiram, the son of a widow of Tyre. It was covered with gold of Ophir, set with all kinds of precious and valuable stones. The seat of the throne was approached by 6 broad steps. The right side of the first step was guarded by an ox made of pure gold, and the left side by a lion of the same metal. On the right of the second step toward a bear, also of gold, and upon the left of a lamb, symbolical of enemies dwelling in peace together. On the right of the third step was placed a golden camel, and on the left an eagle. On the right of the fourth step there is also an eagle with outspread wings, and on the left a bird of prey, all of the same precious metal. On the fifth step to the right a golden cat crouching in position, on the left a chicken. On the right of the sixth step a hawk was fashioned, and on the left side a pigeon, and upon the top of the step a pigeon clutched a hawk in her talons. These animals were designed to typify the time when those of adverse natures shall unite in harmony, as it is written in Isaiah 11:6, and the wolf shall then dwell with the sheep. Over the throne was hung a chandelier of gold with 7 branches. It was ornamented with roses, knobs, bowls, and tongs, and on the 7th branch is the name of the 7 patriarchs: Adam, Noah, Shem, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Job were engraved. On the second row of the branches of the chandelier were engraven the names of the 7 pious ones of the world: Levi, Kehath, Amram, Moses, Aaron, Eldad, and Medad. Above all this hung a golden churn filled with pure olive oil, and on this was engraved the names of Eli, the high priest, and his 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, and on the other side the names of the 2 sons of Aaron, Nadab and Abihu. On the right hand of the throne 2 chairs were placed, one for the high priest and the other for the vice high priest, and upon the left side from the top up to the ground 71 chairs were stationed as seats for the members of the Sanhedrin. The throne was made upon wheels, that it could be moved easily wherever the king might desire it to be. The Lord gave Solomon the power of understanding the nature and properties of the herbs of the field and the trees of the forest, as it is written, and he spoke concerning the trees, from the cedar tree that is upon the Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that springeth out of the wall. He spoke also concerning the beasts, and concerning the fowls, and concerning the creeping things, and concerning the fishes. 1 Kings 5:13. It is said that Solomon ruled the whole world, and this verse is quoted as proof of the assertion. And Solomon was ruling over all the kingdoms which brought presents and served Solomon all the days of his life. 1 Kings 5:1. All the kingdoms congratulated Solomon as the worthy successor of his father David, whose fame was great among the nations, all save one, the kingdom of Sheba, the capital of which was called Ketore. To this kingdom Solomon sent a letter. From me, King Solomon, peace to thee and to the government. Let it be known to thee that the Almighty God has made me to reign over the whole world, the kingdoms of the north, the south, and the east, and the west. Lo, they have come to me with their congratulations, all save thee alone. Come, thou also, I pray thee, and submit to my authority, and much honour shall be done there. But if thou refusest, behold, or take note, I shall by force compel thy acknowledgement. To thee, Queen Sheba, is addressed this letter of peace from me, King Solomon, the son of David. Now when Queen Sheba received this letter, she sent in haste for her elders and counsellors to ask their advice as to the nature of her reply. They spoke her lightly of the message, and the one who to thee, Queen Sheba, is addressed this letter in peace from me, King Solomon, son of David. Now when Queen Sheba received this letter, she sent it in haste, and her elders and counsellors to ask their advice as to the nature of her reply. They spoke but lightly of the message and the one who sent it, but the queen did not regard their words. She sent a vessel carrying many presents of different metals, minerals, and precious stones to Solomon. It was after a voyage of 2 years' time that these presents arrived at Jerusalem. And in a letter entrusted to the captain of the queen said, After thou hast received the message, then I myself will come to thee. And in 2 years after this time, Queen Sheba arrived at Jerusalem. When Solomon heard that the queen was coming, he sent Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the general of his army, to meet her. When the queen saw him, she thought he was the king, and she alighted from her carriage. And then Benaiah asked, Why alightest thou from the carriage? And she answered, Art thou not his majesty the king? No, replied Benaiah, I am but one of his other officers. Then the queen turned back and said to her ladies and attendants, If this is but one of the great officers, and he is so noble and imposing in appearance, how great must be his superior the king. And Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, conducted Queen Sheba to the palace and of the king. Solomon prepared to receive his visitor in an apartment laid and lined with glass, and the queen at first was so deceived by the appearance that she imagined the king to be sitting in water. And when the queen had tested Solomon's wisdom and witnessed his magnificence, she said, I believed not what I heard, but now I have come, and my eyes have seen it all. Behold, the half has not been told to you. And when the queen had tested Solomon's wisdom and witnessed his magnificence, she said, I believe not what I heard, but now I have come, and my eyes have seen it all. Behold, the half has not been told to me. Happy are thy servants who stand before thee continually to listen to the words of wisdom. Blessed be the Lord thy God, who hath placed thee on a throne to rule righteously and justice. When other kings heard the words of the queen of Sheba, they feared Solomon exceedingly, and he became greater than all the other kings of the earth in wisdom and in wealth. Solomon was born in the year 2912 AM and reigned over Israel 40 years. 433 years elapsed between the day of Solomon's reign and that of the temple's destruction. And here is the introduction from additional manuscript 1008-62, the Key of Solomon, translated into Latin from the Hebrew idiom. Treasure up, O my son Roboam, the wisdom of my words, seeing that I, Solomon, have received it from the Lord. Then answered Roboam and said, How have I deserved to follow the example of my father Solomon in such things, who hath been found worthy to receive the knowledge of all living things through the teaching of an angel of God? And Solomon said, Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and learn the wonders of God. For on a certain night when I laid me down to sleep, I called upon that most holy name of God, Ea, and probably pronounced like Yah, and prayed for the ineffable wisdom, Ea, the infallible wisdom. And when I was beginning to close mine eyes, the angel of the Lord, even Homadil, appeared unto me, spake many things courteously unto me, and said, Listen, O Solomon, thy prayer before thee most high is not in vain, and since thou hast asked neither for long life, nor for much riches, nor for the souls of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself wisdom to perform justice, thus saith the Lord, according to thy word have I given unto thee a wise and understanding heart, so that before thee was none like unto thee, nor ever shall arise. And when I comprehended the speech which was made unto me, I understood that in me was the knowledge of all creatures, both things which are in the heavens and things which are beneath the heavens. And I saw that all the writings and wisdom of this present age were vain and futile, and that no man was perfect. And I composed a certain work wherein I rehearsed the secret of secrets, in which I have preserved them hidden. And I have also therein concealed all secrets whatsoever of magical arts of any masters, any secret or experiments, namely of these sciences which is in any way worthy being accomplished. Also have written them in this key, so that like as a key openeth a treasure house, so this key alone may open the knowledge and understanding of magical arts and sciences. Therefore, O my son, thou mayest see every experiment of mine or of others, and let everything be properly prepared for them, as thou shalt properly set down by me, both day and hour, and all things necessary. For without this there will be but falsehood and vanity in this my work, wherein are hidden all secrets and mysteries which can be performed, and that which is set down concerning a single divination or a single experiment. That same I think concerning all things which are in the universe, and which have been, and which shall be in future time. Therefore, O my son Rehoboam, I command thee, by the blessing which thou expectest from my father, that thou shalt make an ivory casket, and therein place, keep and hide this my key. And when I shall have passed away unto my fathers, I entreat thee to place the same in my sepulchre beside me, lest at another time it might fall into the hands of the wicked. And as Solomon commanded, so was it done. And when, therefore, men had waited for a long time, there came unto the sepulchre certain Babylonian philosophers, and when they had assembled, they at once took counsel together that a certain number of men should renew the sepulchre in his, Solomon's, honour. And when the sepulchre was dug out and repaired, the ivory casket was discovered, and therein was the key of secrets, which they took with joyful mind. And when they had opened it, none among them could understand it on account of the obscurity of the words, and the occult arrangement, and the hidden character of the sense and knowledge, for they were not worthy to possess this treasure. There therefore arose one among them more worthy than the others, both in the sights of the gods, and by reason of his age, who was called Grievous, and said unto the others, Unless we shall come back and ask the interpretation from the Lord, with tears and entreaties, we shall never arrive at the knowledge of it. Therefore, when each of them had retired to his bed, had indeed falling upon his face and on the earth, began to weep and striking his breast, and said, What have I deserved above others, seeing that so many men can neither understand nor interpret this knowledge, even though there were no secret things in nature which the Lord hath hidden from me? Wherefore are these words so obscure? Wherefore am I so ignorant? And then on his bended knees, stretching his hands to heaven, he said, O God, the Creator of all, thou who knowest all things, who gavest so great wisdom unto Solomon the son of David, the king, grant unto me, I beseech thee, I beg thee, O holy, omnipotent, and ineffable Father, to receive the virtue of that wisdom, so that I may become worthy by thine aid to attain unto the understanding of the key of secrets. And immediately there appeared unto me the angel of the Lord, saying, Do thou remember if the secrets of Solomon appear hidden and obscure unto thee, that the Lord hath wished it, so that such wisdom may not fall into the hands of wicked men. Wherefore do thou promise unto me that thou art not willing that so great wisdom should ever come to any living creature, and that which thou revealest unto any, let them know that they must keep it unto themselves. Otherwise the secrets are profaned and no effect can follow. And Yohe answered, I promise unto thee that to none will I reveal them, save to the honour of the Lord, and with much discipline unto penitent, secret and faithful persons. Then answered the angel, Go, and read the key, and its words, which were obscure throughout, shall be manifest unto thee. And after this the angel ascended into heaven in a flame of fire. Then Yohe was glad, and labouring with a clear mind understood that which the angel of the Lord had said. And he saw that the key of Solomon was changed, so that it appeared quite clear unto him plainly in all parts. And Yohe understood that this work might fall into the hands of the ignorant, and he said, I conjure him into whose hands the secret may come by the power of the Creator and his wisdom, that in all things he may desire, intend, and perform, that this treasure may come unto no unworthy person, nor may he manifest it unto any who is unwise, nor unto who feareth not God. Because if he act otherwise, I pray God that he may never be worthy to attain unto the desired effect. And so he deposited the key, which Solomon preserved in the ivory casket. But the words of the key are as follows, divided into 2 books and shown in order. Preliminary Discourse, the Key of Solomon, Clavicula Salomonis, the beginning of Book 1, Chapter 1. Concerning the divine love which precedeth the acquisition of this knowledge, Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, hath said that the beginning of our key is to fear God, to adore him, to honour him with the contrition of heart, to invoke him in all matters which we wish to understand or undertake, and to operate with very great devotion, for thus God will lead us in the right way. When therefore thou shalt wish to acquire the knowledge of magical arts and sciences, it is necessary to have prepared the order of hours and of days and of the position of the moon, without the operation of which thou canst effect nothing. It cannot effect anything. But if thou observest them with diligence, thou mayest easily and thoroughly arrive at the effect and end which thou desirest to attain. Here's a footnote indication. 1202, Lansdowne manuscript omits or leaves out the concluding part of the sentence.